Champions Day at Woodbine Racetrack, and we're here to cover it for you on America's Best Racing. JD Fox, the Woodbine resident host. I wouldn't call myself a guru or an expert, but the resident Woodbine host here with you with a familiar face if you do a lot of watching of the um, podcast and social media circuit. One of the best handicappers I know, Andrew Champagne, joining us today for four races, three grade ones, all of which part of the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series. Three win in your in races today at Woodbine. How are you doing today, Andrew?
I don't know. I mean, we haven't done something like this in a very, very, very long time. I believe the last time we were on a stream together was the 2022 Kentucky Derby undercard, and that ended with sheer chaos and pandemonium. So I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm excited. I'm strapped in, and I'm ready to go here. We've got some really, really nice racing coming up at Woodbine, topped off by the Woodbine Mile. And in the shocker of all shockers, we actually have a couple of horses in common over the course of the next 2 hours. If you're out there and you like what we do, voice a couple of comments. We'll try to work those in just as well as we can. But we've got plenty to go through, including the summer, which is coming up in about 10 minutes.
Yep, give or take, as we've got 11 minutes. The post jockeys are getting their mounts. We've got a couple things to promote here from Woodbine first. Today, also part of Global Grade 1. So obviously this started this morning, but three races, the Woodbine Mile Summer Stakes, the Natalma Stakes still to go on this Global Grade 1. Pick five. We are obviously already had the St. Leger at Doncaster and the Irish Champions at Leopardstown. So these are the last three races of that card. And also the other big thing from Woodbine, they have a BCBC, two BCBC seats available. So if we have a chance later, we'll take a look at the leaderboard there. But Woodbine Turf Champions Day, a big day overall here at what I consider my home track, despite living, close to 2,500 miles away, and a track we used to cover all the time, Andrew, together.
Yeah, yes. And Woodbine is a track I've had the pleasure of going to. I was up in Toronto for a conference a couple of years ago, and the people up there just could not possibly be nicer. I had a great time up there that particular day. And when you wind up going there, you see a lot of passion. You see a lot of people that care a significant amount about what they do. You also potentially can get some really good roast beef sandwiches if you know where to look. At any rate, though, we do have horses on the track for race number 6, 9 minutes to post for the Grade 1 Summer, going a mile. But I want to talk about this, and we'll mention this a couple of times throughout this show. If you're familiar with Woodbine, you may be more familiar with the E.P. Taylor turf course. You see the multiple turf courses out there, and you also see what appears to be a very large horn. I'm not sure what the story is on that one, but where I was going with this is the turf races at Woodbine will be run on the inner turf course. So you're going to have races that would normally be contested going one turn around the E.P. Taylor, going two turns on that inner turf course. And we'll see how that affects some of those horses in the outside posts as we move forward.
The call to post horn in the Stella Artois Terrace. So a guest of the Stella Artois Terrace gets to pull a lever before every race, right before the post parade. So that's what that is, Andrew. That's a new thing to Woodbine over the last couple of years, and a lot of fun in that Stella Artois Terrace, one of the best places in the whole world to watch a race. Just a beautifully done area, very comfortable, great food, and right there, great racing. We have a couple scratches in this race, and the secret adversary on the screen, Frankie Dettori, aboard for James Stack. This is James Stack's second ever North American start, the last one coming at a track well, Saratoga, back in 2023. Two Out Hero, the local choice, won the Soar Freely last time out for Kevin Attard with Rafi Hernandez aboard. Got Bill of Ice also for Kevin Attard, longer shot on the board right now, currently 35-1 on the board. Cassant, interesting choice. Finished second, beaten a length and a half in the Soar Freely for Mark Casse. Here's a horse you like, Marcus J.
Yeah, Marcus J was a very impressive first out winner. We'll talk more about the pedigree. To me, I think it screams he wants this two-turn mile.
Wild Desert was hampered more than any horse I've seen in quite some time in the last start. We'll show that replay. And then Teddy's Rocket, an interesting choice. Going to get the extreme outside for St. Elias Stables and those familiar stilts with Miguel Clement training, Joel Rosario aboard. Bet down right now, 12-1 morning line, 5-1. But given the tight two-turn um, configuration that we normally would not see in this race, given that it's on the inner turf and it's basically over the old harness track. That's going to be a tough post to get out of. So, do you want to show? Let's show Marcus Jay's debut win. This came back on August 3rd at Woodbine, an 8 length score with Pietro Morin aboard, who retains the mount today.
Away Apple Dawn, then Fly On By, running home winning agenda from well back, and last Kentucky Bill, but Marcus J slips away again. 2 lengths to Mr. Blue, started to gather some momentum, but Marcus J, like a bullet down the lane, has gone 4 in front. In second placing, Mr. Blue, then Sky Digger, and on the inside, Fly On By, but Marcus J opens up what is a most commanding win, and Marcus J could not have been more impressive than this debut victory. What an outstanding win. Marcus J with so much left by 8.5.
JD, you're telling me that horse is 12-1 right now off of that?
Yeah, I mean, everything looks like this horse should have no problem on the turf. Has a good Tomlinson rating for the distance over the turf. If you look at the breeding angle, hard spun out of a Pioneer of the Mile dam. We talked about this in the pre-show. This horse should run for days. Obviously, going to be up near the front with probably Kassan to his inside, probably the 2 speed types in this one. But yeah, I mean, it's a visually very impressive performance on debut.
And if you look at that pedigree, you see Hard Spun, you see Pioneer of the Nile. This is a horse that I think may well want more than 1 mile, unlike a couple of these sprinters that are stretching out from distances like 6.5 furlongs that you see, where you're not 100% sure if 2 turns is really their game, or if the trainers are trying the deep water and seeing just what kind of horse they have ahead of a potential start in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf down at Del Mar. I think Marcus J has a big shot. And if you're telling me I'm going to get 12-1, to me, that is absolutely worth a play in whatever wager you want here. Race number 6 starts a number of wagers, including a $5 Turf Champions Pick 3. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but JD, you and I both have tickets for this if we want to take a look.
Yep, we've got tickets scrolling on the bottom of the screen. I'm too deep here. I'm going to show the backtrack in a little bit here of my top choice, the 10 Wild Desert for Charlie Appleby. If you've joined us on these Woodbine streams before, you know, anytime Charlie Appleby sends a horse to Woodbine, you've got to pay attention, especially in Grade 1 events. Only hitting at 54% in the last 5 years. And
that's pretty good.
Brings William Buick, who not only one of the best jockeys in the world right now, one of the hottest jockeys in the world, hitting at a ridiculous percentage everywhere he's gone this year. So Berg Godolphin, it's kind of expected. The other horse I have in this opening leg is the Secret Adversary for James Stack with Frankie Dettori aboard. Finally broke the maiden last time out, 3 straight seconds, but looked really strong, closing going 7.5 at Tipperary in Ireland last time up. And if you compare the numbers, you've got to do a little cross-pollination of numbers. You look at time form ratings in Europe and you compare them to time form US, kind of get an idea. I mean, this horse fits right in on the numbers side as well.
Yeah, we've actually got some common ground here in this Champions Pick 3. I'm going 8-10 here. Wild Desert is certainly a legitimate favorite. He's 9-5 right now with 3 minutes to post. JD, you mentioned the trip, and all you have to do is look at the running line. It says HMPD. I sincerely hope that means hampered, as opposed to other things it could potentially mean multiple times during a race. But Wild Desert's still third, beating a length and a half that day against what was probably a better group overseas. If this one wants any part of 2 turns, certainly has a big shot. But off of that last effort and given the value, I have to use number 8, Marcus J in here. I am too deep in race number 8, and I'm going to take a stand against the Charlie Appleby trained runner in that one. I think if you wind up using the Charlie Appleby runners in all 3 legs and building around them, you're going to wind up with too expensive a ticket for what it could potentially pay. I'll use number 6, Hot Mash, and number 10, Deep Learning. And in race number 9, that's the Woodbine Mile. I wish I could offer a contrarian opinion here, but I don't think your favorite loses that particular race. That's a single for me there. 8-10 with 6-10 with 2 scrolling on the bottom of the screen for a $5 base. That'll cost you $20.
Yep. Race 8 will be the second leg, the Natalma. It's a separate wagering menu. You've got to find this particular race at your ADW of choice. Turf Champions Pick 3. Again, it's races 6, 8, and 9. Race 8 is the Natalma Stakes. I'm going 3 deep. The one Corsia Veloce, probably the best winning chance I feel of the local horses in that spot. And I'm also including 2 more. Dance to the Music, just coming off of a neck victory in a Group 3 race at Newmarket. And the 10 Deep Learning, Chad Brown, Flavian Prat coming in from Saratoga. But we talked about the hampering that our favorite in this race had, and that's the 10 Wild Desert last time out. Let's take a look at that.
Second, Italy coming under pressure on the right. Oh, Venetian Lace is hanging badly left-handed away from the running rail into the centre of the course. Rather distracting Wild Desert and taking Italy over there as well slightly. Down the near side, meanwhile, Saba Desert is running on well as they race on up the hill now. Venetian Lace just struggling to keep a straight course on the near side. Saba Desert, Italy far side, and then Wild Desert, and it's Saba Desert that begins to do the best in the run up towards the line. A slightly messy race, but Saba Desert.
So Wild Desert was there in the white cap, finished third, got knocked 5 or 6 times by the horse that was in the early lead, and then gets knocked by stablemate and the winner of that race, Saba Desert, to end it. So I'm willing to give Wild Desert another shot here.
I can't say that I blame you. That was certainly a rough trip. I don't know if it cost Wild Desert the win, but it certainly cost that horse second as we line up for the summer with horses going into the gate. That one's your 2-1 favorite, and that one wouldn't surprise me too much, but I'm hoping that horse number 8, Marcus J, repeats his debut effort because that was extremely impressive, and I still think we're getting an overlaid price at 10-1.
All right, we're just about set for the Grade 1 Summer Stakes. Again, a win and you're in the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series for the Juvenile Turf. And we will go to Robert Geller for the rest of the load and the call.
Ready. Still out. Wild Desert. William Buick. Joel Rosario with Teddy's Rocket for the start of the Bet365 Summer Stakes. Wild Desert has gone in, and the last along, Teddy's Rocket. Line of Miguel Clement. All in. Off their race. Way to the inside is Argos with Rude Procedure away pretty well. 2 Out Hero. And right between them is Time Frame as Marcus J goes right on by that group to go to the lead, and Cassin's handy. It is Marcus J, 2 Out Hero from Argos. Over near the inside early, Rude Procedure. Out wide at Time Frame and Cassin by a couple of lengths. And then came Teddy's Rocket. Fighting the rider there is the Secret Adversary into the turn. Wild Desert wide on the track, second last. And last in the early stages, Bill of Ice. Marcus J controls the pace out in front. 3 parts to Cassin into the backstretch. A length and a half, 2 Out Hero third settling. And a length behind them, Rude Procedure. On the inside lying fifth, Argos, joined by Time Frame. A length to the Secret Adversary, still racing a bit rank. On the outside, Teddy's Rocket. The favourites back at the tail, Wild Desert. And on the inside is Bill of Ice. About 8 lengths covers the field, a half mile to run. And Marcus J through a first quarter in 23-1 leads the way from Cassin. Right behind them, 2 Out Hero in a very snug spot. Rude Procedures lying in fourth. A length and a half to Time Frame. Argos on the inside. Behind them is Teddy's Rocket trying to muster a challenge. The Secret Adversary is well behind. So too Wild Desert spots them 10 lengths and starting a run now for William Buick. And as they turn, Bill of Ice is last. Coming on the outside, Cassin, and behind is 2 Out Hero after Marcus J. And down the center goes Rude Procedure, Marcus J and Cassin. And in the clear, 2 Out Hero. And down the outside, Wild Desert's coming from a mile back. Out in front is Cassin, and now coming is 2 Out Hero, and Wild Desert is out there on the extreme outside with Argos. Argos, Wild Desert, and 2 Out Hero. It's Argos in front, and Argos has just won from Wild Desert and 2 Out Hero, and back and forth Teddy's Rocket.
And Riley Mott with Flavian Prat aboard Argos with the win there. A horse we did not really even touch on in the post parade, as the one had passed us by the time we got to it, but a great ride and a well-timed ride by Flavian Pratt, just holding off the 10, who ended up being the 8-5 favorite, Wild Desert. Um, I thought your 8 was home there for a minute.
Me too. I got a heck of a thrill there. I thought the 8 was on a pretty easy lead and then turned for home and just had no gas in the tank. How much the best was Wild Desert, though? Credit to Flavian Pratt on an excellent ride, but Wild Desert did not negotiate that first turn very well at all whatsoever. He sort of broke with the field, and then he drifted out on that first turn, cost him a lot of ground. He wound up having to circle way, way, way wide on that inner turf course. Just look how far off the rail he is compared to Argos. Flavian Pratt was able to negotiate a ground-saving trip. He rode a very nice horse in Argos who ran well, but coming out of this race, Wild Desert's the one I want, and I hope they wind up shipping him down to Del Mar in about 6 or 7 weeks' time.
Yeah, 110, 5, 12, your unofficial order of finish, with Argos 6-1. And, just a bang up job for Riley Mott. You know, won on debut at Ellis Park, then came up in that Soar Freely, which ended up being a big race as Two Out Hero ran really well, won that race, the local prep for this race, and had finished third. And Flavian Pratt was aboard that day and aboard today to pick up the win for David Romanek and Riley Mott. Impressive performance. Wild Desert, just like you said, Andrew, just didn't negotiate the turn, was wide throughout, probably much the best. And I think another horse that probably long term had been sprinting in Europe. I think long term probably wants just a little bit more ground as well.
Forget about just a bit more ground. Run him in races like the St. Leger, for goodness sake. He pretty much ran a mile and a 16th while everybody else was running a mile in this spot. He ran really well. Credit, though, to those coming out of the Soaring Free back on August 16th. Your winner that day was Two Out Hero. He winds up running third. Argos, of course, the third place finisher, winds up winning. We do have an inquiry on the screen, and I'm curious about what this is because coming out of the gate, number 6, Bill of Ice, did not break well. I don't know if it was Two Out Hero who was at fault for that, but it would appear as though that's what they're looking at here. It certainly does not involve your winner or your second place finisher.
Yes. So inquiry flashing that we can see on the 5 Two Out Hero when we've got a little more information, as I'm looking at all my screens and sources, just trying to figure out who's going to break the news first, and we get the first. Hopefully we get a steward's view of what they're looking at shortly. But again, this was a grade 1 and a very important one for 2-year-olds. Kind of, we're mid-challenge series, getting closer and closer to Breeders' Cup. Again, a weird dates for the Breeders' Cup. October 31st. I'm just not used to saying Breeders' Cup in October. It's the one way in the calendar where it could fit that way. We are going to have a Halloween Friday and then November 1st out at Del Mar. Feel free to chime in with your comments here. We've got lots of people talking about Flavian Pratt and the ride he gave Argos in that race to pick up the win. It's well done here. We still do not have any information on the inquiry, so we're gonna keep an eye on that and let you know what is happening there. Next race we have coming up is the Ontario Matron Stakes. So not a part of that pick 3 sequence that we mentioned at the start that we're both already out of. But hey, no, you can't win if you don't play. And we had some strong opinions, and obviously Argos proved us wrong there. But this is still, a grade 3 that's got a lot of. Oh, now we're getting a look at the inquiry here. So let's pull this back up, and it looks like it's around the turn. So it's involving maybe the 3.
Well, let's see here, because you do see some horses taking up. If anything, it looks like the 8 comes over a little bit and causes that, and the 5 loses its action just a bit. Right there and right there. Yeah, that's I don't think that's the 5's doing. If that's all we're looking at, I think this should be a pretty quick inquiry.
As we can see, Flavian Prat and Argos going to the Johnny Walker Winner's Circle um, on a big day at Woodbine. Um, getting back to what I had started to talk about with the Matron Stakes, which is our next race coming up, and we'll have a guest joining us to talk about it shortly, is you have some horses that are well known around Woodbine. You've got a lot of sovereign awards in this race, but unfortunately for the local fans, they're not a group of horses that are in particularly the best form that we've seen them in. Caitlin Her Greatness, the morning line favorite, 3-1. Obviously, last year's King's Plate winner, beating the boys, but and then finally won actually her first Group One or graded stakes race, I should say, to open the year in the Belle Mahone. So you thought, okay, this is positive progression as a 4-year-old filly, but really has been up the wall against the wall since then. Finished 8th in the Nassau, came back and ran pretty decent on the synthetic in the Trillium, finishing second to I know a horse you really like in Literate, and then finished 5th, beaten a country mile in the EP Taylor last time out with Flavian Pratt aboard. Do you think with Caitlin Her Greatness, it's simply a case of this turf experiment needs to end and this is the preferred surface, or do you need to see a complete form reversal here to see Caitlin Her Greatness potentially be a factor in this one?
Is there an all of the above option? Because I don't know if it's turf or if it's no Lasix. But if you look at last year's QE2 at Keeneland, she was a pretty distant third that day and did not run her best effort. That one was without Lasix. The EP Taylor was without Lasix. She does get to run on Lasix here. Could she win? I guess. But given her likely price, I'm going elsewhere because I would need at least about 6-1 in order to play her in this spot, just based off of speed figures and her form. And I think people at Woodbine are going to realize, hey, wait a minute, that was the King's Plate winner from last year. This horse is running, and she's going to take, I don't want to call it sentimental money, but I do think when you have horses that win big races on big circuits, they do tend to wind up a touch over bet. And as you've mentioned, this is a pretty good field. I am slightly against her in this spot. Could she win? Sure. Does that make her a good bet at her likely price? I don't think so personally. I think there's a couple of others in here that intrigue me a bit more and offer a bit more in the way of value. As you see in the top left corner, that Breeders' Cup challenge blanket over Argos, the winner of the summer. Still not official yet. I'm still wondering what the heck they're looking at here, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought the 8 was the one that caused the problems. The 5 wound up reacting to it, and whatever happened behind the 5 happened, but the only alternative for 2 Out Hero was to send Hernandez over the rail.
Yeah, and I think we're officially going to get the call here of no change, and the result will remain here and will go official, and we'll have some updated odds for the Ontario Matron shortly here as they get ready. Jeff Pratt gets ready
Hi, Jeff.
to talk to Flavian Pratt in the winner's circle. But, Fashionably Fab, another Canadian favorite, last year's. You've got to get into the wording of the Sovereign Awards. She was the champion older main track female. That is the official terminology. So basically, the synthetic female champion in the distaff division. It's another way of looking at it. Fashionably Fab, 10-1 on the morning line for Kevin Attar. Pietro Morin, who has had a great meet and has been leading apprentice and has done so much, is really coming into his own, hitting at 17%. But the Invaders, I think, are the interesting story here, and we've got very interesting story in the 4 Wild Pansy.
Wild Pansy has not run since November of 2024, and you get a couple of things in this one's favor. For one, you get a runner that showed some potential overseas in France. Last time out, this horse wound up winning at Chantilly. Before that, a winner at Deauville. Had been on the sidelines, was a private purchase for about $475,000 back in December by an outfit that is very, very familiar and very, very outspoken. I am referring, of course, to Mike Rapoli. This one gets first-time Lasix first time in North America. That's an angle that I always tend to gravitate to. I'm not 100% sure Lasix is a performance enhancer. You'd have to talk to a vet about that, but I do believe that Lasix can be a performance enabler. That's the good news with Wild Pansy. The bad news is we haven't seen her for 10 months. The workouts seem fine, but the question I have that I would ask Mike Rapoli if he was here is, if you think Wild Pansy is a graded stakes caliber runner, there's this guy in New York that trains a lot of your horses. Why isn't he there? Or isn't she there? Excuse me. It's just one of those things that it's a question. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's certainly curious. And I think the tote board is going to tell us a story. And in a perfect world, I've bought enough time for the tote board to come up for race number 7 so that JD can take a look at the first flash for us. Did it win?
No, it did not. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the last race that Wild Pansy won, and then we'll bring on a special guest who's waiting in the green room for us. This is the last win at Chantilly in the, I am not French and I apologize, the Prix de la Rotonde des Minerves. I believe.
Close enough.
Close enough, but here's Wild Pansy in that one.
Wild Pansy is there in third. Esprit Joyeux runs fourth. On the right of it, same jacket or similar jacket is Terre de Guerre, who's gone past it now and is out after these leaders. But Wild Pansy has been sent for the line. Barcelona takes it up here. Wild Pansy drawing clear. My Fancy is in second. Celestin is in third position. Central Park West behind those. Wild Pansy, though, settled it fully 200 metres from the line. Wild Pansy wins. Celestin in second.
And we are joined by Go Fill Yourself, Sherry Riddick. Sherry, happy Turf Champions Day. How are you doing?
Hi, guys. I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well. We obviously just wrapped up the first grade 1 of the day in the summer. Kind of early thoughts on Argos and that ride from Flavien Prat.
I know. That's why I'm kind of a little bit late, because Argos was actually my best bet today. So
somebody on this show had that horse. Awesome.
I loved him. I absolutely loved him. And it's funny because my colleague from the racing farm also picked him. So we were like, yeah, because it's, it's such a challenge. And there's so many different ways you can go in these 2-year-olds first time going on this turf course and stuff. Right. So I feel like a big a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I'm just thrilled. I'm totally thrilled. I thought Flavien rode him absolutely perfectly. Absolutely perfect.
And speaking of a weight off the shoulders, Riley Mott obviously got the first grade 1 victory with World Beater at Saratoga, and now picks up another one here and has a very live mount when it comes to October 31st. See, I just want to say November in Breeders' Cup. It's very tough for me to say the 2-year-old races. It's going to be on October 31st for Argos for the Connections and David Romanek.
Yeah, and you know what? I like that he's got a 2-turn race under his belt now, right? Like that was always such a question mark with these Breeders' Cup races here. So especially at Del Mar, because the course is similar to our inner turf course, right? So
for sure. Yeah. You turn for home at Del Mar and you're pretty much right at the wire anyway, unless you needed Broome in the Breeders' Cup turf several years ago, which is a beat that I had thought I recovered from, but thinking about that just, rips the Band-Aid straight off. Another horse I'm really hoping makes that trip, and JD and I talked about this. Wild Desert ran huge considering the ground that he had to concede. He went way wide on that first turn, trying to get out of some trouble, and he came home pretty much in the center of the track. I don't know if we have data that shows how much distance he covered compared to the rest of the field. He's another nice runner, and if he can wind up negotiating a trip for probably the first time in his career, given some of the races that we saw from overseas, I think he may well wind up being a contender on October 31st, JD, in that juvenile turf.
I agree. I mean, and that's the thing. We had a post-10 2-year-old winner earlier on the card, and that they have to either have a complete pace collapse up front or they have to maneuver some sort of trip. And I think Flavien just got the jump on him, which I think was because he was coming. If we were on a different, longer stretch, I think the outcome would have been different. But you know what? all kudos to Argos, because that was a brilliant ride today, and I'm looking forward to seeing who out of this race actually does go, because I think Wild Desert for sure is going to be one to keep an eye on as well.
Well, I think it's a smooth transition here to the Ontario Matron, and one of the things we talked about before you joined us, Sherry, is you obviously have some very famous, some very beloved local horses who are coming into this race, maybe not in their top form. So how, from a handicapping perspective, are you comparing the out-of-towners that are coming in versus the local horses that you know well but maybe haven't been putting their best foot forward?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I found this race a real puzzler. I've obviously got some soft spots for Caitlin, Her Greatness, and Fashionably Fab, who I kind of have this, I have a push-pull relationship with both of them. If I use them, then they tend to not, put out their best. And if I leave them off, then they beat me. So with them being on the outside post and maybe not exactly where I'd like them to see so far this year, I have decided to go elsewhere.
So in unpacking that, I think.
Oh.
Did we lose JD? I think we might have lost JD.
We did, yeah. We lost him.
Yep, JD and I talked about this. If we wind up losing him, I have about a 2-hour-long tangent that I can take us all on, and I don't think we want that at all whatsoever, and I think JD would agree with that. So I hope he gets his microphone squared away sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. I think we got him.
Oh,
yeah, I have
no idea. And I'm actually not in a closet. I'm actually at Woodbine. I just found a quiet little office so that I didn't have a lot of background noise. So I am on site checking everything out as it goes along, because something I think that's very important to note with these races coming up is the sun has come out and it's gotten drastically warmer. So keep an eye out. Marcus J really started to sweat up in the last race, like prior. So just keep an eye out maybe a little bit for, these races coming up.
I think he started to sweat more so because I gave him out at a price. So he felt the weight coming from California turning for home.
So what did you guys do here? Did you guys decide to go a little bit of a different angle and pick a non-Woodbine selection?
JD, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I'm on Wild Pansy, and I know Jeff Bratt really likes Wild Pansy as well. I mean, this was a $475,533 U.S. purchase by Rapoli. You got to do math for the sale price in pounds. But I think really it's finding this horse kind of refreshed when they brought this horse back to the synthetic, and this mare really performed well at the end of last season. Obviously has some experience going left-handed, has not fared extremely well going left-handed, but I'm not as concerned if it was a horse trying synthetic for the first time. This horse has plenty of experience and honestly has been in Kevin's barn. You look at the work tab. I mean, this horse has works going back to July, so this horse has been brought in and has been ready to go. So Wild Pansy, I think, is a big look for me in this spot.
The Woodbine Clocker also gave a nod, right, to Wild Pansy. So it's definitely caught the attention. Yeah.
Ernie gave the Clocker nod as well, and had this horse, a very lukewarm second choice at 4-1 on the morning line, currently 7-1 on the board. Andrew, what direction were you going to end up going here?
So I will say my opinion got slightly less strong with the scratch of number 7, Blitz. I didn't think Blitz was going to be much of a factor on the win end, but Blitz was going to go early. There is still some early speed in here, though. And for that reason, my tepid top selection is horse number 6, Literate. I thought Literate ran very well in the Grade 3 Trillium. We'll show that later on a backtrack where she actually beat a number of horses she lines up against in this spot at this particular route of ground. I love the recent workouts. She has been training very, very well, and I have no problem tossing out the EP Taylor. Look, She Feels Pretty is really, really good, and I think Literate is just better on synthetic than she is on turf. So I'm hoping they wind up going quickly, and I find the presence of number 11 Hurricane Claire in here very interesting because I don't want to use the term rabbit, but she's certainly going to be forward for trainer Martin Drexler, who trains Literate. And it certainly seems like Literate of those two is the one that you want. So my thinking is Hurricane Claire is at least going to ensure that there is some pace signed on. And with that in mind, I think Literate's got a shot. But the other A that I have in this particular race is currently 13-1. And I think that's too big a price on number 3, Avenue Neal. If you've got your past performances handy, whatever format you use, just cross out the races where she doesn't have Lasix. And when you do that, what are you left with? You are left with a horse that has run a number of very, very big races, including last time out at Colonial, where she won very easily by more than 3 lengths. Now, this is a class test for her, and she's never run on all weather. If she was, say, 4-1, 9-2-ish, I'd be a lot more chilly. But if you're going to give me 13-1 on a horse that hasn't run a bad race on Lasix and gets Lasix in this spot with Joel Rosario for a trainer and Mike Trombetta that does not ship for frequent flyer miles, JD, Sherry, sign me up for that.
Yeah, you know what? I think that the non-synthetic, not having a race kind of was something that was just a little bit of a block for me, but you're right. Adding the Lasix and stuff, usually the turf form does transfer over. Generally, though, for myself, what I find is they tend to need one over the surface, and then second time out is when they really put forth their best effort. But you're right. I can totally understand that. Like, obviously, the Lasix is going to help her tremendously. And I agree with what you said on Literate as well. I think the dynamic of this race really did change a lot with the scratch, who was Blitz and the other speed. Hurricane Claire, if she's left alone, she could be a little bit dangerous, but you're right. Like, I think Literate, both of them were in a race that I think they just thought they would give a shot because it came up kind of light, and She Feels Pretty is just a monster, right? So I think both of them could actually come back well, giving Marty a little bit of a 1-2 punch here in this field, right? I actually chose the 5 for Flying. The reason being is because it's her 3rd start of the year she's been knocking against this kind of competition, gets a jockey change, which I kind of think might be the thing that'll just shake things up for her a little bit. She's been knocking on the door. She was close to Caitlin. I think Caitlin is a little bit over bet here at 9-5. I wouldn't want to be touching that at all. And, you know, she did her best running from off the pace. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe we'll see a little bit more of a stalking trip from For Flying in here. And Graham Motion, he hasn't won here recently, but it's just been like he was nosed out a little like once. And so I really do think she's just sitting on a big performance, coming in 3rd off the bench. She's experienced over the track. And I don't know, for 15-1 for me, I think that just screams value.
And when you see Dylan Davis getting the nod, a lot of people realize that Dylan normally rides in New York, but has a lot of experience coming down on big days at Woodbine and has won a lot of races on these days. So that's, maybe a positive direction in moving and changing the jockey, but also getting a jockey while being out of town, somebody that's very familiar with the Tapeta at Woodbine.
I mean, we're getting some nice prices in here. I actually have Wild Pansy, Literate, and For Flying, which is they're all at 6-1 and above. So this board is screaming like a bettor's dream the way it's shaping up, right? I don't see why not.
Sure. I mean, Caitlin or Greatness could win. If she winds up winning, I'm not going to be shocked. 9-5 is insane. I'm looking at this board, and you mentioned one Graham Motion trainee. I'd like to talk about the other, and that's 5 Towns. 5 Towns is another that winds up getting Lasix back, tends to run better on it. And if you look at that all-weather form, you see 2 starts, you see 2 wins. Now, not all weather and synthetic surfaces are created equal. There are certain quirks and certain tendencies, and we're not 100% sure if that's going to carry to Woodbine. But she ran well enough in the Canadian last year to where I don't think she's going to be totally out of her element, and we're getting 7-1. This turned into, JD and Sherry, probably the best betting race on the card.
if this race was on any other card other than these big, you know, grade 1 stakes that we have, this would be the probably betting race of the day, right? I mean, this is a phenomenal field, and really a case could be made for all of them. It's just how the race is going to unfold. And now, for the most part of the year, we've seen inside speed do well too. So I don't know how that's going to mean on the far outside, right? Like with Fashionably Fab in the 12, and I'm not really sure how that's all going to play out. And if you saw that in the King's Plate, well, the first turn was a complete free-for-all. So we just might end up kind of seeing that again around the first turn, right? That resonates in my mind with that big field. And we could see a lot of strange things that change the outcome of that race going into the first turn.
So this race is the betting board. If you like a horse at a price here, you're definitely going to get it. This is the kickoff of a mandatory jackpot power pick 6. One horse we haven't touched on is the one Dancing and Dixie. If we want to get crazy with the cheese whiz here, this is going to be probably a deep closer with Patrick Husbands aboard. But it always interests me when you have a Gary Barber and Mark Casse horse that has gallivanted the Eastern Seaboard and has not shown up at Woodbine yet. And
Yes.
that just strikes me as, okay, Mark's really good at placing. You know, Gary's going to listen to Mark here, but obviously disappointing against the horse you like a little bit, Andrew. Avenue Neal last time out at Colonial was actually bet much more greatly bet down from the morning line in that race, and went off lower odds than Avenue Neal and just never got a chance, was wide throughout. But if this thing breaks down, I think this horse is here for the reason, and it's 2 for 2 lifetime on the synthetic. Obviously, it's the Gulfstream synthetic, and it was a maiden breaking score and a low level overnight stake. But still, you know, you got to look at, there's a reason this horse is here, and maybe if the race breaks that way, this horse could be an upset chance.
I will say the race 2 back at Gulfstream in that listed stake on May 31st, that was not bad. I do think she needs to take a step forward. I'm not crazy about the rail draw for a deep closer, but you're getting 23-1, and that hits me as at least a little bit of an overlay. I thought the 20-1 morning line was reasonably fair, but you've got some things to like there. I do think that the scratch of Blitz does hurt her a little bit, but again, this horse winds up winning. It pays $50. I mean, you look back at that race 2 back. Was she that crazy? No.
If the race falls apart, she'll be running. Right?
You'd think.
Yeah. And honestly, like Husbands Cassies usually always take money. I think it's an interesting sign that they're not taking much. To me, that kind of is a little bit, you know, is the betting public just not digging deep enough? Or, you know, because Cassie and Husbands, I mean, their stakes record together is probably one of the best locally ever. So, but she's really, really cold on the board, right? So to me, that just kind of makes me think a little bit like, and again, it wouldn't surprise me either, right? No. Like it really wouldn't. And given how this board looks, she might be perfect to put in underneath if you want to, you know, play a superfecta or whatever, and, you know, just to amp up your price a little bit. And that being said, I'd probably just put her in the winner's circle. That wouldn't surprise me either.
Well, here's the other horse we didn't talk about. Talk to you later with Slade Jones aboard. So you got a 5'10" jockey aboard. That's the nice thing I can say about that horse. Avenue Neal, who you like a little bit, with Joel Rosario aboard for Michael Trumbata.
We didn't talk about the 8 actually with Frankie Dettoria.
Oh, Johanny, yeah, for Ian Hardy. We didn't.
Yeah,
I thought the 8 looked great in the paddock. I'll say that much. My notes, though, are needs a meltdown. So this is another horse that I think gets hurt a little bit by the changes to the race shape, but She was a 2-back winner going down the hill at Santa Anita. She ran okay on the synthetic last year at Gulfstream. You see Literate there, my top selection. It's a good group of older fillies and mares, and there's Johanny, horse number 8, Frankie Dettori up. It still looks really nice on the racetrack too. 6-1 on that one, 7-1 on 5 Towns, and you're going to see your favorite in just a moment. That's Caitlin Her Greatness. Sherry, we were talking about this a little bit just before you came on, talking about how when horses win big races on certain circuits, whenever they show up, they're going to wind up getting bet. And if you look at Caitlin Her Greatness since that win in the King's Plate, she was 14-1 in the QE2 at Keeneland, different circuit. She comes back to Woodbine, 5-2 favorite, 2-1 favorite, 6-5 favorite, 3-5 favorite. She's going to take money whenever she runs at Woodbine. And yes, she could win, but between the post position and the fact that this isn't a bad field, I think we're all in agreement that this is the spot to take a stand against her and potentially juice up some of those multi-race exotic wagers. You mentioned that power pick 6. There's also a pick 3 starting here that ends in the Woodbine Mile. So if you've got as strong an opinion in that race as JD and I do about a potential short price, that's called foreshadowing, kids. Maybe this is the way in which you can extract some value from that one. And also remember at Woodbine, those pick X wagers, 20-cent minimums.
Yeah, I agree. I think, from my perspective, what I see is those 3 outside horses kind of going a little bit early to try to find position for themselves. And I think they have to do that in order to get themselves a spot in there. And at the end of the day, that could just be the thing that ends up being their downfall, right? Having to use a little bit more than they wanted to, trying to get position from that outside. So I definitely am going to lean a little bit more towards middle inside of the field and try to spice things up with a couple of these long shots underneath.
If someone's wanting to play that pick 3, Sherry, let's get your opinions on the next 2 races. The Natalma, I know you were pretty high on Dinah, and Dinah was unfortunately a scratch in this one. Do you have a quick opinion in both the Grade 1 Natalma and then obviously the Grade 1 Woodbine Mile? Actually, I should ask, does your daughter have a pick for the Grade 1 Woodbine
Right,
Mile?
yeah, I know. Town Cruise. I'm never going to live that down, ever.
That was a great moment in ABR Woodbine Live history.
2 seconds. Oh, caps her mom. I think 6 Hot Mash becomes a very interesting player with the scratch of Dinah. I don't see many that are really going to go with her. And I took a few looks at that replay at Ellis Park, and man, like she took pressure and dusted them. And I'm not really sure anyone's going to go with her here. 2 turns, obviously a question. But if she gets far enough out there, I think they're going to have a hard time catching her. So I added her with the scratch of Dinah. Dance to the Music, I mean, that's just because of the connection factor. I think she's going to come running. Again, can she get there? I'm not really sure. And then I took Deep Learning. A little bit of a question from the outside post. However, she's the only one in the field cutting back. So I think she should be able to get a decent position with Flavian, who just took the other race, and he was more in the middle of the field. He didn't stay on the rail. So I think he can get himself in a position as to where he wants to go. In the mile, obviously, I took Notable Speech, who I think is the one to beat, but I put My Boy Prince in there because, again, if he gets loose on that lead, Huntmaster drawing in there, don't really like that. But My Boy Prince, if he can sit off a Huntmaster and not duel himself out, he's pretty tough when he gets going. So as a value, I hooked him in there too.
Definitely some, a big angle. We talked about Caitlin Her Greatness. You can kind of say the same thing for My Boy Prince, one of the most hyped horses we've had on the Woodbine backside for a while, and has come out and showed out, winning the Elusive Quality earlier this year, finishing second in the Jaipur. But I think everybody is well behind Notable Speech. And
yeah, and rightfully so, right? I mean,
Appleby.
He's the class of the field for sure.
If he shows up, the race is for second, which
Correct.
If you don't like Notable Speech is great news because you're going to get a price on whatever horse you like. But there are going to be critics out there that say Notable Speech hasn't moved forward that much from a really good 3-year-old campaign. Against this group, I don't think he has to. I think a repeat of his race last time out when he ran into Diego Velasquez makes him strictly the one to beat in here. And I'm looking at this board with 2 minutes to post. Caitlin, her greatness is 6-5. We're probably putting her straight into the winner's circle here, but isn't this insane?
I think so.
I think
she is better on the synthetic than she is on turf. And those two turf performances, if you cross them out, the two most recent turf tries, I mean, her form isn't that bad. It's just those turf races where so much was expected of her were so bad that it's tough to cross those races out. But we've got some folks loving the 4. We've got some love for the 9. I think both of those make a little sense. 5 Towns for Grand Motion. You talked about, I think you both talked about 5 Towns a little bit. As we're getting closer to the starting gate, I'm still on the 4, and I'm still loving 6-1. It's not the 7-1 and 8-1 that we were getting a few minutes ago, but we'll take 6-1 with Wild Pansy. And I am getting crazy and putting the 1 underneath on tries and supers. I think the 1 can certainly close. And if somebody decides to go with Hurricane Claire and it gets messy up front, I think it could be very interesting for a deep closer here. What are Andrew, your top opinion?
So my top opinion is still Literate. We're getting 5-1. And yes, you mentioned Caitlin, her greatness is better on synthetic. But if you like Caitlin, her greatness, Literate beat her 2 starts back. You're telling me that horse is 6-1 now? Okay. I am 4 deep in a pick 3 starting here without using the 10. I'm using Avenue Neal. I'm using Wild Pansy. I'm using Literate. And I'm using 5 Towns. I am throwing last year's King's Plate winner out completely, and I am hoping that we can extract some value out of this sequence by going against her. This is one of those stances where, if I'm right, a lot of tickets wind up going up in smoke.
Agree. And Literate did beat her, and I think that was a real shock for a lot of people, because she is beatable, right? A lot of people thought on the synthetic she wasn't beatable, but she showed she was beatable. And with that outside post, she shows vulnerability as well. So I think value is a way to go.
All right, as we get the load beginning, and a good look at some nice groom work on the 2 there for Talk to You Later. One of the things I really like about Woodbine is they've really been showcasing the grooms, and you've seen a lot of the articles and everything. They'll mention who the groom of the particular horse is, and I think that's a very cool touch that we're starting to see at Woodbine, and I hope more tracks adopt it.
All for it.
All right, we're just about set to go in the Grade 3 Ontario Matron. We will go up to Robert Geller for the rest of the load and the call.
Fashionably Fab. Stand by for the start of the Ontario Matron. They're set, locked up. Off and racing, and back to last is Wild Pansy as they break. A very good start in the centre, 5 Towns for flying, but from the outside, both Hurricane Claire and Fashionably Fab have got to the front. And racing handy in the early part, a bit wide. Caitlin, her greatness on the pace. A length in behind them, Literate between runners. Talk to You Later up on the inside. Wild Pansy's going up 3 wide, and off the track, Johanny. A break in the field, second last, Avenue Niel. And last of all is Dancing in Dixie, showing the way. Hurricane Claire and Eswan Flores leads into the backstretch in the Ontario Matron, 1.5 in front. Fashionably Fab second, third, fourth flying, and Caitlin, her greatness, nudging up on the outside. A length behind them is John Velasquez with 5 Towns well placed around the outside. Wild Pansy fighting the rider a little bit now, trying to cuddle up in the center of Johanny, and on the inside, Talk to You Later. A length and a half away, Literate. Dancing in Dixie second last. And the trailer Avenue Niel for Joel Rosario. About 9 lengths covers them. And Hurricane Claire, untroubled, shows the way by a length and a half inside the half mile from Fashionably Fab. Caitlin, her greatness, moving up. On the inside, 4 flying from 5 Towns. Johanny moving up on the outside of Wild Pansy as they go after the leader a little bit more. Talk to You Later, well back with Literate, Dancing in Dixie, and last, Avenue Niel. As they go inside the 5/16, Hurricane Claire, Fashionably Fab, joined by Caitlin, her greatness, and she's rolled up on the outside to go to the front. And it is Caitlin, her greatness, the leader. Coming up the inside for Flying Hurricane Clear, still battling on in second. Caitlin, Her Greatness, racing away. And Caitlin, Her Greatness, putting 3 lengths on the field. Hurricane Clear in second. And it's interest only in the minors because she is going to win with a vengeance. And Caitlin, Her Greatness, goes on to show her greatness by 4 lengths. Hurricane Clear second, for Flying third. And then 5 Townsend.
We put her in the winner's circle.
Well, that was pretty easy, wasn't it? That was impressive for a couple of different reasons. When they were going into that first turn, and people out there that are watching the stream may have seen my face like, what's going on here? Because it looked like Caitlin, Her Greatness, was going to go and contest the pace. She gets taken back, and she looked to be going pretty wide into that first turn. And I'm thinking, wait, she's going to try to rate and lose ground? Is that really where she wants to be? And it didn't matter because she was so much the best. I mean, you look at those fractions, they were not going fast. Hurricane Claire got an ideal trip on the front end. I was right about Martin Drexler having a big shot. I just picked the wrong runner. But you look at those 3/4 time of 1:13.17, then the mile time in 1:36.66. They went really, really fast at the top of the stretch. And by they, I mean Caitlin, Her Greatness, because when they turned for home, it turned into a 1-horse race. And if you didn't listen to us and hammered this horse down to 4 to 5, good on you.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say is, I was going to lead into it, Sherry. Flavian has ridden 2 just picture-perfect races.
Yep. And you know what, again, like I said, they were going to have to try to get position from that post. And that's exactly what he did. Right. But didn't let her go and contest for the lead. And Hurricane Claire, what a huge effort from her. And again, the speed, that's the thing. Like sometimes on this Tapeta, when you get out there, it's hard to reel them in. And I'm not taking anything away from her performance because that was the best performance we've seen out of her this year. Like that was beautiful ride, beautiful performance by her to dust that field. I take everything back that I said negatively. She ran to her price today, and kudos to her. Again, she beats me when I don't use her every time.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm waiting on the figures to come back because I think this is going to be a really nice number for Caitlin, Her Greatness, with how much ground she conceded, the fact that they were not going all that fast up front, and she mowed him down like a really, really nice horse.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not sad about my pickup for Flying.
No.
I thought she actually ran her race. She wasn't good enough on the day. So Hurricane Claire too, man, she hung in there for a long time against the monster. So, I mean, I think the top quartet ran super.
And then I was going to say, I think my 4 took out the rest of the field at various points of the race. That horse did not want to go left-handed by any means necessary.
Yeah, I saw the 2 have to take up, and you mentioned the 5'10" jockey. It is impossible to miss him standing up in the saddle.
Yeah, that I'm gonna have to take a look at the replay there, but there was definitely some stuff that was taking place, and you could definitely see Slade standing up at certain points in the race. So, but I take nothing away from the winner. She was the best today.
No, she certainly was. That was impressive. I will say that much. And if that's the Caitlin, Her Greatness we're going to expect to see the rest of this year, she's not done winning.
No, definitely not. And at least the good news is I'm alive in the all-turf pick 3 with Argos.
Well, that makes one of the 3 of us.
Because I'm starting over now with Caitlin winning.
Yeah, no, I think we all, from a handicapping, we spent the last 15 minutes basically putting Caitlin, Her Greatness in the winner circle by saying she had no chance to win.
In fairness, I did not say she had no chance to win. I said she was a bad bet. There's a difference.
Yeah. There is a difference. No, I apologize. Going off at 4 to 5 and is the winner of the Grade 3 Ontario Matron, and Flavian Pratt with a riding double, and is looking to get his picture taken for WinStar with Kevin Attard doing the training duties. Sherry, thanks for joining us. Social media at Go Philly. obviously the best way of getting you. And then obviously we're going to read all of your comments and everything in DRF and everything you do. You are, we're always lucky to have you here. You're really the resident handicapper at Woodbine, and we really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I wish you guys lots of good bets along the way, right?
And the best news is last year on this weekend, Sherry, we're having to take shots of maple syrup. So we're not doing that today. So
I was actually thinking that on my drive here. I'm like, thank goodness there's no maple syrup shots.
Thanks, Alexa, for not having us.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you guys so much. Take care and good luck on the rest of the card.
Thanks.
Sherry Riddick, as we look at the numbers here, Caitlin of Greatness paid 370, 270, 240. Hurricane Claire held on for second, $13.50 to place, $9 to show. For Flying for Grand Motion, $7.80 to show. The 10-11 Exacta paid $46.10 for $2, not bad at all. Dollar Try, $203.70. And as we look at those final payouts, we have they hit that. We've got a special guest joining us who's got a big charge in the mile, but also just had the third and fourth place finishers in that race. Graham Motion joining us. Graham, great job by, I think, both of your runners there. Really outran their odds, and Caitlin was just a different horse today.
Yeah, I was really pleased with them, to be honest. I thought For Flying ran super. She got a piece of it again. 5 times was a little unlucky not to hit the ball, but I was very pleased with how they ran. The winner is very good. It's tough to beat that filly.
It definitely is. And why we wanted to get you on today, obviously you've got one of the interesting charges in the Woodbine Mile in One Stripe, and you've kind of got this South African string of horses going. Can you give us a little bit of background on how that started?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really exciting, to be honest. It's really sort of injected some energy into our stable, having these South African horses. The first group came to me last year, but since then they've changed the quarantine restrictions, which has made it a little bit easier. So this guy actually, he did a month's quarantine in South Africa, and then he did 2 months in training in Europe. And after he did 2 months in Europe, he was allowed to come to me in the States. So it's just made it that much easier for them.
Yeah, and One Stripe, obviously already a Challenge Series winner, already has a berth in the FanDuel Mile at Breeders' Cup, but I think this is an important part to the prep towards that race, the first race in North America.
Yeah, I mean, look, I realize this is a big ask for him. He's just turned 4. You know, the South African horses turned 4 in August. Their birthdays were in August. So, you know, we're asking a lot of him today, running against some really top horses from Europe. But he's doing well. I think he's had good preparation, and we need to get him started.
Graham, really quickly, from the standpoint of a trainer and the differences between some of the South African horses you have and the bloodstock that has American bloodline, what do you notice as far as any differences from both a physical standpoint and just the way they carry themselves? Anything we should be aware of?
I don't know that I've noticed a huge difference. I mean, the sire of One Stripe, One World is doing really well in South Africa. And I've just really been impressed with how competitive they've been. You know, I mean, I won a race earlier today at Delaware with Distant Winter, who's, a stakes placed filly in South Africa. But, you know, really, they've been very competitive. Everyone that I've run over here has been competitive. And I think this guy will. I'm not sure we'll see the best of him today because it's a big change running on this tight track. But hopefully this is a step to get him to the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the move to the tighter 2-turn mile versus what we would normally have in the Woodbine Mile might be a blessing and a curse in terms of this horse's preparation for the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, obviously, the reason I picked this race was I thought it would be an easier transition for him to run on the outer course. But having said that, you know, this is a great dress rehearsal for him to run on the tighter track. So that's what he's going to have to do at Del Mar if we make it.
That's for sure. As far as tactics go, looking at this race leading up to it, obviously you've got Notable Speech to your inside. He's immensely talented. What should we expect from Run Stripe once the gates open up? Where in an ideal world do you want him going into that first turn?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to leave it to Johnny. He's the expert. We talked about it a little bit before the last race, and I just want to see him finish with a run. Hopefully he breaks well. You know, it's always so different the first time they run over here.
Well, we really appreciate your time, Graham. We know you're running horses all over the country, and you've got a big day at Woodbine. I really appreciate you taking out the time to join us here on America's Best Racing, and good luck with One Stripe.
Not at all. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Graham.
And now for the transition the world has been waiting. We go from multiple graded stakes winning trainer Graham Ocean to Chase Sessions, the Wolf of Oaklawn.
This is just seriously unfortunate for people. Like, this way to go from like just ashy to classy, or in this the reverse there, classy back to ashy in my case. So yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for that setup.
No, we're happy to join. Happy to have you join us, because to be fair, through 2 races, Chase, our handicapping has been awful. So we're hoping that you can help us a little bit on this path.
Chase, JD and I did a very stupid thing. We started agreeing, and that goes against everything we have ever done as a duo in anything we have ever hosted. And it has occurred with disastrous results. We put Caitlin or Greatness straight into the winner's circle there.
So you're happy with me just giving you horses that you can absolutely hate? Then that's
I mean, if that's the way you want to look at it, sure. No, we're just the only real disappointment is I don't know, Chase, if you sent your collection of GIFs over to JD before this stream, but I don't think JD's in a real hurry to use those, because I think he likes the situation that he's in and doesn't want to get yelled at.
That's fair.
But I will ask to show off the chain a little bit. If we could get a little lean into the camera with the chain once you get your sip of water here, because it's looking pretty fly today, Chase.
It's actually 3 layers today for the situation. First, we'll lead off with the rope chain with the baby angel wearing a mask and carrying an Uzi. We got the tennis chain, real to me diamonds. That's all that matters. And my big pick 5 chain, the Toga Twankler. I've dubbed it.
Oh, just bringing so much in so many different ways to this broadcast. We love having you back on the ABR airwaves, Chase, and we're gonna dive in here. We've got another grade 1, and you're gonna be joining us for both of them, the Talma and the Woodbine Mile, as we're 17 minutes away. They seem to really want to go today. Normally you see a little bit of hang in the post times on a big race day, but Woodbine is doing us all bettors a favor, and we're not wasting any time with 17 minutes to post. And the Johnny Walker Natalma, perfectly timed Johnny Walker commercial. Wish I had some right now. Don't. Looking at this race, it's kind of a wide open situation, and we've got a lot of horses we can talk through, and we've got a lot of horses that we've got some backtracks on that we can play. But Chase, when you were looking at this race, what stood out to you?
I think what stands out to me is the big question of what the tactics are going to be in this race. Specifically, what are we going to see happen with Pina Colada being, a barn mate of a Sweet Fusion here? Because a horse like Sweet Fusion looks like it might need a little bit to run into. Without inserting Pina Colada into the early pace, there's not really a ton of real kind of want the front early pace here. So I think that's really going to be the X factor for this, is what we get out of Pina Colada if it's a rabbit move.
Yeah, I think, Hot Mash, with Dinah scratching, I think, Hot Mash might be that right off the pace horse. But yeah, I mean, if Pina Colada doesn't send, I don't know who ends up with the lead here.
I mean, I'm looking at this, and I see Hot Mash's race at Ellis Park, which we'll take a look at in a backtrack later. I see those early fractions. I see 20-1. I see 42-3. This horse has the potential to be very, very, very fast. And when I see John Service ship in for a very aggressive spot, he is not a guy that will ship in a horse just to be there. He is a guy that knows his horses, knows what he has, and when he comes in for a big day, ignore him at your own peril. I'm looking at this field now. Number 10, Deep Learning, is your 6-5 favorite. You've got Dance to the Music, horse number 5 in the program, at 3-2. Hot Mash at 4-1. And guys, they're betting nobody else. The bettors are seeing this as a 3-horse race, maybe even 2.5, considering the difference between the top 2 choices and Hot Mash. And I'm looking at this thinking that if Hot Mash stays at 4-1, that might be the play here.
Well, I think we've talked about it, and we're going to see kind of the latter stages of it. But here is the debut win at Ellis Park for Hot Mash.
And in the 4th position remains Windy Houston. Boy, they are strung out, especially for a 5.5 furlong turf race. And there's Hot Mash coming away with the lead. Daphne Blue's back to second. And Windy Houston is beginning to hit her best stride. She's going to make a move for the 2nd spot, but Hot Mash has given them the slip. Hot Mash has opened up to a huge lead. Windy Houston will claim the 2nd spot. How about Hot Mash? Good-looking winner. Windy Houston 2nd, and Daphne Blue, medium.
Yeah, for a first-time starter, that'll do, guys.
I had so much money on Windy Houston on just the name play alone, so that was a sad day for me. But Hot Mash, very impressive in victory there. Had Axel Concepcion on that aboard that day. Gets Joel Rosario, obviously. Joel, a very strong jockey. But one interesting note that Sherry dug up on this race: 0 for 7 riding for Jason Service since 2020, or for John Service. That's an unfortunate slip since 2022.
Oh, don't worry. We're not going to hold that against you too much, I don't think, at least on the air.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Love you, buddy.
So Dance to the Music coming off of a neck victory in the Sweet Solera. Charlie Appleby, William Buick, we've talked about it earlier on this show. You've got a grade 1 and Charlie Appleby. It's a 54% strike rate at Woodbine over the past 5 years. Is this horse worthy of the 3-2?
Just to be clear, very quickly, we need to sort something out. Chase, will you bless us with Charlie Appleby's street name, please?
Oh, Chucky Apples?
There you go.
Chucky Apples with his boy Billy Buck. Yeah. I kind of go with the just roll over and expose your soft underbelly to Charles Appleby and just face the fact that you're going to get beaten. It was on one of these ABR streams where I got beaten by Charles Appleby like 3 minutes apart from each other. It was when I decided like 2 years ago, I'm just done going against Charles Appleby.
Well, let's take a look at the win last time out in the Sweet Solera for Dance to the Music.
Flat down into the drive, Midnight Tango. He's trying to come, will need a bit of a gap, a little stuck in behind, and Sapphire Steps is in rear, sprinting inside the final third and a half. Dance to the Music, now just edges on upside Phoenician Lace. Dance to the Music, wandering around. Princess Petrol is trying to finish off. 3 in a line here, driving close to home. Dance to the Music, in between rivals, just has it. Princess Petrol trying to close. Dance to the Music won the Sweet Solera narrowly over Princess Petrol in second, Venetian Lace in third.
Horse getting caught, going 7 furlongs, but holding on, running a straight course, turning for the first time here. It's not the most overly impressive mover I think we've ever seen out of the barn, but the class there does show through, and you got a Dubai, so I mean you've got a horse that stands for almost $500,000 US. She's going to be a talented filly, but I don't know if the distance is going to suit her here.
When you booted up that backtrack at that initial frame, when she winds up getting asked, you're thinking she should win that race by about 3 or 4 lengths wrapped up. She just didn't kick on. She's got a lot of growing to do. You mentioned first time going 2 turns. William Buick comes aboard, and that's great, I guess. But I looked at that race. I was in no way overly impressed. She beat 4 horses that day. She goes up against a full field here. The more I look, the more I don't like her, which, given what happened with Caitlin or Greatness, you probably want to hammer horse number 5 Dance to the Music right now. But I'm against her in this particular spot, and I'm hoping she keeps coming down.
Yeah, no, I think, obviously putting all these backtracks together, I took a long look at that race and I actually looked at it from slightly different angles because we had multiple broadcast crews, which sometimes happens in these races in Britain, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me that instead of everybody taking one feed, you have multiple feeds covering the same race. But that's another show for another day. And that was definitely the one that I think had the most visual impression of what you just said, Andrew. And that's, really had to dig to get that win. And if they go an extra, 200 yards, I mean, she's not getting there. But um, I think if the right pace comes along in this spot, I think she's got a shot. But she's not somebody that I want to take at 8-5. Nor I think is Deep Learning somebody I want to take at 3-2. Just to close out what we have visually and visually, Deep Learning cutting back from a 1:16 score on the turf at Saratoga, winning on debut. We'll take a look at that one as soon as I can find it. My apologies. There it is.
Side is a neck back second. It's two more to Social Scene. Beast Labre is next there at the top of the stretch. Beach Ballad shifts in a touch. Fraudster up alongside. And Deep Learning is now kicking in with class. Here's Deep Learning on the outside, coming swiftly to inhale the top pair. And what a promising debut for Deep Learning, who strolls in by almost 4 lengths.
I tend to worry about an American turf horse that needs that much setup.
So what I will say is Deep Learning was the only horse in that race that closed at all whatsoever. And yes, she had a great ride with Flavian Pratt aboard. Yes, she breaks from the 10 hole here. Granted, she benefits a touch from the scratch of number 8, Dinah. But I do think it behooves you to look and see, okay, the horses that were 1-2 the whole way around going into the stretch ran 2-3, and they were well clear of the 4th place finisher. Does Deep Learning have some stuff to overcome? Certainly, but I'm looking, and I think of the two horses that are taking most of the play, she's the more legitimate one.
Point, counterpoint, Chase?
I'm going to go ahead and say that you try to get around Charles Appleby here. I know I'm just completely throwing everything I just said back into the win there, but I think that you kind of try to hedge yourself a little bit with how this pace might work out. I actually like Corsia Veloce quite a bit to come from a little bit further off the pace in this race, especially if we see Pina Colada at the front. And I'm also kind of thinking of maybe I should be using a horse like Hot Mash, who does look like, if we don't have those tactics from Pina Colada, as the horse that should be out controlling this pace. So I really kind of liked putting 1 and 6 on top in an exacta, and then wheeling in, of course, the 5 and 10 with them. It's really going to be up to Pina Colada, I think, which is, things should always be up to Pina Coladas, I guess.
It depends. Do you like getting caught in the rain?
I mean, a little bit. I
was hoping you would keep it going, and we would just drive JD absolutely up a wall.
I'm so sad that I can't use that clip on my show anymore. It's especially with Matthew. That was his theme song.
Well, Matthew gone. That's an inside reference to the Venn diagram of audience that we have here, and I believe we've driven JD crazy enough for this particular segment. So, how about we look at the post parade here? Does that sound like a good idea, gentlemen?
Yeah, no, the one thing I was going to say, and we just had Sherry on, and she puts just such gems in these DRF closer looks that she does. I like Corsia Veloce a little bit as well, and I think best chance of the local horses here. But somehow, some way, in all of her years of training, this is only Josie Carroll's second ever starter in the Natolma. And in grade 1 since 2021, she is 0 for 11 as a trainer.
Ooh.
Like, those are the numbers that Sherry really digs out and does well. And obviously this horse is in good form, won the Catch a Glimpse. Fraser Abley remains aboard. I think, 10-1 we're getting right now is a good price. If a local horse is going to win, I think that's the horse, especially considering most of the other local horses are 30-1, 41-1, 81-1. But those numbers do strike a little bit of terror because they're just in such sharp contrast to Charlie Appleby's numbers.
There was one horse that I thought had an outside chance that, I mean, might be worth a couple dollars in the win pool, and it's Star Attraction. You don't necessarily appear to have the buyer figures. I mean, not even close, but we'd also went over a yielding course in that. This should be a little bit firmer, I assume, today. And I think that maybe that horse could, take a little bit of a step forward, show the ability to pass other horses, which, I mean, can be dangerous, but like I said, needs to get a lot faster than it was in the last race.
72 to 1. I'm never going to talk you off of that horse.
Yeah, the one thing, and I wanted to be able to make that same claim. The one thing is, I think Star Attraction is going to be a great filly, but if she takes after her mom, I mean, her mom really didn't get going until she was 4. And so, yes, won a maiden race, but as you said, the buyer wasn't great. I think this is going to be a kind of a slow rise to climb for Star Attraction, but obviously you see Starship Jubilee, and this is, she was still running at age 7 and won the Woodbine Mile at age 7. So, I mean, Starship Jubilee is a class that, we rarely get to see, a generational talent, if you will, at the Woodbine Circle. But, she took a while. I mean, she was a maiden and optional claiming horse to start, and was claimed for $16,000 twice, and then ended up becoming a multimillionaire. So that's more of the route I see. But again, I'm not going to talk you off, 69 to 1 right now, on a horse that has Pietro Moore on the board, has Kevin Attard. I mean, these are the top 2 people at Woodbine this year. Not going to talk you off.
We got somebody in the chat that likes the 4.
Oh, Papa Champagne in on the mix.
Yes, we do, and I will fulfill my duties as a good son and say that I don't think that's particularly crazy to think Dixie Law is going to let go in 2 turns. You see, by Tis the Law out of a Union Rags mare, that's distance top and bottom. This one was wide last time out. Does need to move forward on figures, but I've seen far crazier 40 to 1s. And look, if the 2 favorites don't fire, what are you going to do here? I can't fault anybody for trying to look in a different direction. But one thing I will say from the standpoint of doubles going into race number 9, which is the Woodbine Mile, our main event, is 2 horses are getting bet in doubles. And that's Dance to the Music and Deep Learning. If you like Hot Mash, the 3rd choice, and you like Notable Speech a lot in the Woodbine Mile, an ice cold double is not a bad bet looking at the payoffs. As of about 2 or 3 minutes ago, it was paying 10 or 11 to 1.
I actually like 2 prices going into the next race, trying to get around Notable Speech. And if you like this, then you like money, because if I were to go 1-6 in this race to the 5 and 6 in the following race, I mean, the smallest amount I'll pull is $44 on a $1 daily double. I think that's worth a little bit of a stab at $4.
Doubles are fun like that, too, if you can get around a chalk, yeah.
Yeah, I'm defaulting to Chase. My opinion's been so bad today that I think anything Chase says, just bet it. I'm not giving any more betting advice, and unless in this spot, unless Corsia Veloce runs really well, because that's my opinion now officially. Looking at the board and looking at 9 to 1, like that's where my money's going. I know our friend of ABR, Ashley Mayu, really likes the 3 Sweet Fusion. And the second in the Catch a Glimpse to Corsia Veloce, it is kind of a bit of a numbers game that Corsia Veloce won that race at a price and is 10 to 1. And Sweet Fusion was second choice in that race, finished second, had a little bit of trouble angling wide, and is 27 to 26 to 1 now on the board.
I just wasn't overly impressed with the Catch a Glimpse, and it's entirely possible I'm wrong. 2 races ago, we saw that the local prep came back very well in the summer. So maybe the local horses are well meant coming into this one. I'm looking at the board right now, and I'm seeing 6 to 5 on Dance to the Music. Based on the backtrack that we saw, this is a connections play. She could win, but I was way more impressed with Deep Learning. I was way more impressed with Hot Mash, and I think Hot Mash may very well wind up being the value play in here, because Going back to the talk about Pina Colada and potentially going early, there's a chance that the top two wind up getting very comfortable. And if that's the case, and Hot Mash likes going 2 turns, which she could do with Smart Strike on the bottom, 9-2 seems like a decent price.
So is there any concern for you with Dance to the Music only running straights career, in the career so far? Like, do you worry that we're not going to be able to change leads or anything like that? It seems like if you're going to start poking holes, that would be the first place I would start.
For me personally, I think so, just because of what we saw in that effort last time out, where at the start of that video, it looked like she was going to win from here to your house, and she didn't really kick on, and she's going to need to against this group as we go to the gate. JD, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Dance to the Music needs to prove she can get the distance. She's the classiest filly by far in this field, but I'm going to take Corsia Veloce. I think there's enough underneath. I think this horse wants to go longer. That's where I'm sticking, and we'll see how wrong I am in about a minute.
I love that positive attitude, JD. It's good to know that some things don't change.
Yeah, it's taken us, how long have we been streaming? An hour and 25 minutes to get me back to my normal pessimistic nature. But someone who's not pessimistic is one of the nicest guys in racing, Robert Geller. We'll go up to him for the call of race 8, the grade 1 Natalma.
Locked up. Off they race, and a bit slow was Dance to the Music. Last out the gate, and Deep Learning second last as they break in the Natalma. And racing out with the leaders, Hot Mash from La Coulas. Handy on the inside, Sweet Fusion, and tucked away on the rails, Corsia Veloce. Over in the center as they settle into stride, Dixie Law, and out wider on the track is Star Attraction. Trying to settle down Pina Colada. Deep Learning is second last as they take the first turn, and at the back is Dance to the Music, who spots the leader 7 lengths. And cuddled along in front, it is Joel Rosario and Hot Mash. A length and a half, La Coulas and Sweet Fusion having a nice trail. Dixie Law going closer. And in the center now, Corsia Veloce is nudging between runners as they descend on the leader. A couple to Star Attraction mid-pack. A length and a half behind them, Pina Colada. Deep Learning is next to last, and a length away last. Dance to the Music, quickening in front. And La Coulas has raced to the lead and dashed away by 3 lengths. Hot Mash is second. Dixie Law up on the outside, and on the rails remains Corsia Veloce. 2.5 to Sweet Fusion and Star Attraction. Behind them, Pina Colada. Deep Learning yet to make a move. Second last, starting to edge up a little bit, and still at the back, Dance to the Music. About 7 lengths covers the field, and La Coulas from Hot Mash. Up on the outside, Dixie Law. Over on the rails, Corsia Veloce. Star Attraction running on. Dance to the Music running past Deep Learning as they corner, and they're still well behind as they come down the stretch. And it's on the inside, La Coulas in the Natalma Stakes. And now Corsia Veloce plunging through in the center, and Hot Mash. And in the center, Corsia Veloce. On the inside, La Coulas. On the outer, Hot Mash. Corsia Veloce. Corsia Veloce is going to win the Natalma Stakes. Very impressively, remains undefeated. From Hot Mash, La Coulas. And out.
Yes, Andrew Champagne.
What the heck was that ride? Look, I am no jockey. And before I go much further, gentlemen, nice call with Corsia Veloce. That horse ran great. Frazier made a really good decision, taking back, being able to split those horses. Great ride. I take nothing away from him. You guys know how hard it is to ask a horse for multiple runs over the course of a race? It's hard. And it's not like they were going quick. It's not like La Coulas was just gunning. He took Hot Mash back. And I don't know if he was riding to instructions or what happened there, but as somebody that backed Hot Mash and thought his best chance was on the lead, I don't know why you don't let a speed horse go.
It's a nice little 12-1 winner.
Instances of that. I think we learned that Pina Colada did not like getting got so rank being held back and just basically barely made it around the track because that horse, she wanted to go. And obviously, the strict instructions were do not go, and Sahin Savachi did everything. But yeah, it was definitely a case of it looked like me in a 1984 Pontiac Fiero trying to go through the gears there with Hot Mash on top. Just I don't know, the break in the middle of the race. and then coming back on a little bit, and then waiting, and then coming back on again. I mean, it set things up perfectly for the horse that I ended up picking on top at 12-1. But I think I might have lucked into that, which is what I needed today, Chase.
Hey, we'll take it any way we can get it. It all spins the same.
Seriously, guys, that's a heck of a call. You got 12-1. And if we've learned something, it's that the local preps at Woodbine underestimate them at your own peril, because back in the summer, you had a couple of horses that finished highly in the local prep for that, wind up running 1-3. Corsia Veloce gets the job done here. And how about the effort by number 9, La Coulas, and an aggressive ride by Frankie Dettori, being able to take advantage early when Joel Rosario decided to pull Hot Mash back. La Coulas winds up running third at 57-1. Dance to the Music, meanwhile, didn't break, but I don't know if it would have made all that much of a difference. I don't think she ran particularly well in here.
I'm so excited about this daily double now.
You're live to some nice ones there, Chase.
No, that's awesome. And I think going into this day and getting ready for the show, Andrew, and I'll be the first to admit it, you guys both know me. I'm Mr. Woodbine. This is my circuit. This is my jam. And this was a case of like, I really like the shippers today, and the Woodbine horses have won the last 3 races.
Well, you got back on the beam with this one. And the biggest disappointment of all, I think, was the 10 Deep Learning, who I don't think ran a jump. Maybe we can look at the replay, but she did not run well in here. And that was surprising based off of the monster race she ran in her debut. Maybe this was a bounce, and next time is the bounce back. But after what we saw first time out at Saratoga, her being nowhere is a pretty big disappointment.
I was saving this nugget, but Chad Brown now 0 for his last 12 at Woodbine.
Never thought we'd see the day, huh?
Yeah, no, I don't know. You've got, a horseman who's 21%, well, probably 22% the rest of the country, and is 0 for at Woodbine in the last couple years.
The rest of the country, he's got a string at Fort Erie?
North America.
Things, Assiniboia. I mean,
part of the racing
Century Mile. Chase, any more Canadian tracks we can think of? Come on.
Come on.
Is it Grants Pass that has the lacrosse field in the?
That's in Oregon, but close.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
Missed the Assiniboia. I'm very disappointed in you, Andrew.
I said Assiniboia.
Oh, you did.
Ooh, that exacta brought back $70. All right.
That's a good exacta, Chase. Good hit.
And
I said Hastings too, Dad. I saw him say Hastings in the comments. Hastings yeah. He got the entire Champagne family banned for life at Hastings by asking where the rest of the racetrack was.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of nice racetrack, and they're improving that EP Taylor turf course at Woodbine, and we see Fraser Abley aboard for Josie Carroll. So Josie gets off that Schneid she has, and this, as we mentioned, this is her first, and that just shocked me. Only her second Natalma starter and her first win. Big for the connections, Glenn Sakuri and Mario Seriani. And the Johnny Walker Winner's Circle is getting pretty full here. Lots of connections to this one, and a big Grade 1 victory in the Natalma, and that means we will be seeing this horse in the John Deere Juvenile Fillies turf, and that again will be on October 31st. I got it that time, Andrew.
Good for you. I was going to say you should dress up as a calendar for Halloween.
There you go. I think the 7 saddle cloth is going to be very popular on the first day of the Breeders' Cup. Just saying. You see Josie Carroll in the winner's circle there, and yeah, $26.50 to win. Get the inflated show prices for the 5 Dance to Music and the 10 not being a part of the proceedings.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, $8.20 to show. Almost got as much to show as place on your winner. And the dollar try, $169,919. Dollar super, $4,178.35. The rolling pick 3 for $1, $318.15. Wish I would have had that one. Looking back on it, it was pretty gettable. But you have to pick 4 to 5 favorites to win pick 3 sometimes, and I don't do a lot of that, so we're okay missing this one. But what a performance today, and Woodbine has been going strong so far in this card.
It's a good card. I mean, you look at the quality of horses that they've got, not just locally, but they bring in horses from the U.S., you bring in horses from Europe. And as we talked with Graham Motion about earlier, you've got a horse coming in from South Africa. It's a lot of fun looking at days like this at a track like this with some really, really good people on site. So good on them. More power to them. And hopefully somebody there right now is enjoying one of those roast beef sandwiches on the third floor.
Get the Breeders' Cup treatment here, and the Johnny Walker Natalma Stakes winning you're in, and all of the fancy bon vivant sort of proceedings that we have here. And I just got to say that because we did have, we got French horse coming up. So
good. Good for them, springing for the Johnny Walker Black as opposed to just a Johnny Walker Red. I think that's a step up. It's a nice little touch.
Yeah, well, if you win a race at Woodbine, you get a Johnny Walker Red, but this is a big day. So obviously, in the Johnny Walker Natalma, you're going to get the good stuff.
Nice.
What's funny is because everybody had that in one of the races on our last ABR stream, that was a Japanese sponsored race. There was a Japanese bottle of whiskey that was also handed out. So it was a very battle of the whiskeys in the winner's circle. But if you're just joining us, we've got one more big race coming. We've already had 2 grade 1s, and we had a grade 3 in the middle of it, but we've got the main event and the Rogers Woodbine Mile coming up in 23 minutes. And this is one of the big races. And if you've been on the whole stream, thank you guys. We're going to have to explain something again here, that this is just a little bit of a different era for the Woodbine Mile, which is a race that's seen many different eras. This was a race that didn't start out as a mile and didn't start out on turf. This was a mile and a 16th dirt race that became a mile race on the turf. And normally it's on the E.P. Taylor, the outer turf course, North America's largest turf course. And with the construction to redo that turf course that has started on the backside, this is going to be the year where this is run on the inner turf course. And it definitely changes the dynamic of the race. And you've got tight turns and some question marks. And the one thing I will tell you guys is, as expected, notable speech, depending on your tote company of choice, opens at either 1 to 5 as showing on Woodbine, or 1 to 4 based on what ADW you like to do your business with and what tote they use. But a big favorite for Charlie Appleby. We've talked about Charlie Appleby being so dominant at Woodbine, but given how today has gone, do we see Wyoming Bill? Do we see My Boy Prince? Do we see one of these Woodbine horses coming in and upsetting the apple cart?
Lord, I hope so.
I mean, with the Will Pays Your Live,
I think that you could see a horse like My Boy. Yeah, I think you could see My Boy Prince easily go into the lead and maybe being the lone early speed in this race. Wyoming Bill is going to be kind of coming from off the pace, so it gets a little bit hotter. I think you usually kind of just say, if I'm going to take a closer, I'm going to take the longest price that I possibly can, because so much of it is just dependent on good luck and clean trip. So, yeah, I mean, I think that these Ontario breds kind of have a good enough chance to be able to upset. I mean, what have we seen Charles Appleby win so far today? I mean, it's been, some horses at pretty, short prices that haven't come in yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, personally, I do think My Boy Prince is the main speed. I don't think he's the lone speed. Based on what we saw last time, I think we've seen Stanley House wants to go. Number 4, Huntmaster, is in this race to get the first call coming out of the gate and is being bet accordingly at 99 to 1. And My Boy Prince has some speed as well. I do think there's going to be at least a little bit of opposition up front, though My Boy Prince is probably the most sensible pick to be the leader after a half mile. And then you look at the fractional time and you see, okay, does this horse have enough juice to be able to hang on? My thing with My Boy Prince is I think he's a bit better going a little bit shorter. I think he wants to go the 6 furlong distance we saw when he ran second, beaten 2 lengths in the Jaipur by AG Bullet. That to me was one of the better races he's ever run. 2 starts back in the Highlander, he was second, beaten a neck. I think he's more of a 6 furlong horse. I think he's running in the wrong race for the right reasons. Of the Mark Casse trained runners, as far as being able to potentially spring an upset, if Notable Speech stubs his toe, what's wrong with Win for the Money? Win for the Money won a little race called the Woodbine Mile just last year, comes in off of a solid effort, beaten 2 lengths by Deterministic in the 4-star Dave at Saratoga. And if Deterministic is in this field, I don't know if he's favored over Notable Speech, but he's certainly probably your 2-1, 5-2 second choice at worst. I wouldn't be surprised if Win for the Money is the one that winds up sitting an Ideal Stalking Trip and getting first run turning for home.
When I did my pace projection for this race, I saw Win for Money sitting at just a fantastic spot, right behind, in the garden spot, behind the 2 early speeds that I had going. Like you mentioned, the 4, who I think the 4 will be out and be forwardly placed. But the 6, my boy Prince, up there with him, and I had the 8 just sitting there as a first run type horse. So I think at the 8-1, now up to 9-1, I wouldn't talk anybody off of Win for the Money just because of that kind of perfect trip possibility in it.
My one question, and this is getting into the jockey agent politics. So sadly, this is the one ABR stream we haven't had at Woodbine recently that hasn't had a jockey agent on it. But Dylan Davis is there on track, and he's not riding this horse, and he's not riding any horse in this race. Why?
I can potentially answer that. Who rode Win for the Money last year in the Woodbine Mile?
Patrick Husbands.
That's the answer.
I mean, it is a fair point. And Win for the Money might win my vote for coolest horse, because what Live Oak's been able to do with Mark Casse is it seems like whenever this horse needs a win, they just ship to Woodbine and the horse wins, and then the horse goes someplace else. I mean, broke the maiden at Woodbine. Obviously, tried to do that in the autumn in the valedictory in 2023, won the Woodbine Mile in 2024 with the tied for the top speed figure in the career, and it's coming off of back-to-back third place performances at Saratoga. You know, you're getting 9-1. I've seen a lot worse 9-1 shots on paper.
That's for sure. And you look at the 9 Gas Me Up, who was actually your current second choice. I thought Gas Me Up benefited from a meltdown last time out in the King Edward. The first quarter mile was 23-2. That's not overly insane. They went the half in 45-4. They flew early on in that race, and Gas Me Up got every bit of the advantage in that particular spot. I'm not saying that he's horribly meant coming into this race. He certainly looks like a horse on the upswing. 6-1 hits me as a little bit of an underlay here, though, guys.
All right, so the horses we don't know a lot about from their U.S. form are the 2 and the 3. We talked a little bit with Grand Motion about the 3-1 stripe, and Artie obviously has made the way into the FanDuel Mile with the win in the South African version of the King's Plate, but wanted to show the last race, which was a very hampered trip in the I'm going to try to get this all in one breath. The HSH Princess Charlene Big Cap. I spliced in some additional footage that shows just how bad a trip One Stripe had in that race.
They homeward bound in the Her Serene Highness Princess Charlene Big Cap. It's the Grey King in front. Racing in second is All Out for 6. In third is on the inside One Stripe. He's just about to be asked to go. And One Stripe now comes forward with purpose on that inside fence. He needs to get to All Out for 6, who's running a blinder. All Out for 6, I tell you what, the door's been shut in the face of One Stripe. And All Out for 6 has shot 3 lengths clear. Race over. All Out for 6 beats La Pulga.
Trouble to say the least for One Stripe. It was a 2-5 shot in that race, but before that had 3 straight victories, all going a mile, all going left-handed as well, which I think is important when we talk about this, because in South Africa, it's very similar to Australia and New Zealand. It's kind of course by course. Some of the tracks go left-handed. Some of the tracks go right-handed. So From what we talked about with Grand Motion, it sounds like this is a prep race for the Breeders' Cup to him, but still thinks that the horse is in good condition and is going well. But it has not gone well so far today for the Invaders that we've seen. It's been a very good day for the local horses, and a guy that's had a great perspective in calling those races joins us now, Robert Geller. Robert, it's been a great day for the Woodbine horses, and Caitlin ran her eyeballs out. Can you hear us? All right, we'll try Robert again in a second here. No, it's One Stripe, and I should mention One Stripe is absolutely dead on the board right now. 5-2 morning line, 13-1. So not a lot of chances being given for the South African Invader. We're going to try Robert again here. Robert, can you hear us?
Okay. Is that working?
It's not
I think
working.
we're okay. Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Hello?
we can
Yes,
hear
I can now. I just have to put it really close to my ears, so sorry.
All right, Robert, it's been a great day for
I can now. Hello?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Very faintly. Sorry, very faintly. Just very faintly.
All right.
Not sure. Let me... No, I can't.
Yep. Okay, Robert.
Sorry.
Thanks, and we'll try to get Robert on again on another show. Apologies to him.
He does, however, have a very clean ear, though. We can say that much.
Yeah. Very well Q-tipped, I will say.
Never know. He could be using some eardrops. You don't know. As far as One Stripe is concerned, and getting back from the subject of ear health to the feature, the Woodbine Mile, yes, certainly the fact that he's gone left-handed helps. That checks one box. One thing that we did learn from that conversation with Graham Motion is the reminder that One Stripe is a fairly young 4-year-old. Remember, Southern Hemisphere breeding seasons operate a little bit differently than those of us here on the Northern Hemisphere. And so he's actually a little bit younger than most of his counterparts, which, if you're eyeing races like the Breeders' Cup Mile, that's a very good thing, because he could potentially have more room to move forward and run a career best race. For here, though, he's running against some pretty seasoned horses. So you see 13-1 on the tote board. If word was out, you think it would be there. And I'm not saying he'd be favored, but certainly single digits. Graham Motion mentioned that he may very well need a race, and it appears as though bettors are behaving accordingly.
I may not be the best judge of horse flesh, but that is a beautiful animal as we look at the three.
It's a grade 1. I would think most of them will be. And yes, that horse certainly on his toes coming into this one. Look, you wouldn't guess that he's only run once since January, given the way he's carrying himself. We'll see, but certainly an unknown, and 13-1 is a bigger price than I thought he would be. But he's breaking outside of a horse that, if he wins this particular race, may very well be your favorite for that Breeders' Cup Mile on November 1st at Del Mar.
One thing I will say for One Stripe is if you look at the comments for like his last 5 races, is the horse has had trouble almost every time and has won almost every single race where it's had the trouble. So, if you like your horses with a little bit of heart, a little bit of perseverance, then 12-1 is not a bad spot to get invested.
Definitely agree that, seeing this and seeing the 5-2, I think this horse has a really good shot of outrunning those odds. Getting back to notable speech, obviously ran one time at Del Mar. We're going to try Robert Geller again here. I think he's going to be able to hear us okay this time. Robert, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. I apologize. Sorry about that. But I
Wonderful.
We're trying to ask you about, a lot of talk about the Invaders coming into the day, but the local horses have done exceptionally well so far on the card.
They really have. I think it's terrific. It's a testament to our breeders and to those who've been successful. And there's no doubt that some of the European horses have been probably compromised by the inner turf today. I mean, it's certainly, they're not used to this type of tight turns. I do think that's been a factor.
And I know we don't have you for very long here as we're getting closer to the pros parade, but Caitlin Her Greatness, what a performance today from her.
Wasn't that masterful? Because Kevin Attard, she began her career so impressively, won the King's Plate. When she came back here, she was amazing after her stints in the States. And I have to say that she looked like she was back to her very best today. I was so delighted because we always knew she had that in her. And we heard Kevin talk about the fact that she's not necessarily at home on some of the EP Taylor turns, but what a win. It was very, very impressive. Yeah.
As we get ready for the main event here, the Grade 1 Woodbine Mile, any way you're particularly leaning here?
Well, I think this is the race where it is all about Godolphin. I mean, Notable Speech has fantastic back class, fantastic form. I do hope the trip goes well because I think that's the biggest factor. I think has the class. And the mystery horse to all of us is One Stripe. There's every indication that this horse is going to run a big race. But of the locals, I mean, they've got the defending champion back, Win for the Money. I think Wyoming Bill is really suited by the inner turf. So that's a bonus for this horse who ran well to gas me up. But I think it's a class jump, but you never know because horses for courses. And I'm excited to see just how Notable Speech will do and One Stripe, as they are certainly the horses that will expect to be running well today.
Robert, I've got one quick question for you here, and it's a good one. Obviously, you've got one of the most fun jobs at the racetrack every day. How much fun do you have on a day like today where you've got Grade 1 races, you've got a big crowd, you've got horses coming in from everywhere, as far away as South Africa? It's got to be good being you today, isn't it?
Oh, it's a wonderful experience. There's that breaking into the first stakes race. And then I suddenly realized, wow, this is just so wonderful for us at Woodbine. And I was just delighted to be the person who gets the chance to impart what I see. But I do think that we have some really good shippers that have come into Woodbine. We know that Woodbine has produced some great results in the Breeders' Cup and this particular race especially. So for me, it's really like a dream come true. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Robert. We know you got to go do your main job here, and have a great call. And we look forward to talking to you again shortly.
Thank you so much.
Robert Geller joining us, track announcer at Woodbine. With the technical difficulties, we didn't have a lot of time, but we got some good insight from him on what he's seen so far today. And I think he kind of sees the trade do. It's, Notable Speech is an impressive colt, and it's his race to lose. But there are some local charges that have good chances here. As you look at, we were talking about these selections. Everybody at Woodbine choosing Notable Speech. Most people in the media that I saw choosing Notable Speech 1-2. But Notable Speech, I hate to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. Notable Speech hasn't won a race since July of last year. Andrew.
So I'm going to be that guy as well, but with something different. A suit jacket, a bow tie, and shorts. Come on, guy. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Very ska of him with that outfit.
No. If you're going to dress up, dress all the way up. Come on.
Sherry had mentioned that the sun had came out for a little bit and it had warmed up quite above what they were expecting the daytime high to be, but it was still, it's still just 77. It was like 68 degrees Fahrenheit when we started the stream today. So it's not exactly like shorts weather per se.
Now, going back on topic, much to the relief of our viewers, you look at what Notable Speech has been running. He was third in last year's Breeders' Cup Mile, beaten 3/4 of a length by more than looks. There's no issue there. He's been running at Newbury, Royal Ascot, Newmarket, and Deauville. The race last time out, he finished second by a head to Diego Velasquez, who is another horse we may very well see on Breeders' Cup Day. It'd be a little bit different if this was a horse that was running in some of the lower caliber races in Europe and came over here for a Grade 1. He's been running against the best of the best, and I don't hold it against him too much. The bigger issue from the standpoint of if you're looking to poke holes is he ran some very good races as a 3-year-old, and he hasn't really moved forward off of that effort. He's sort of plateaued. So if you think he needs to move forward in order to win this particular race, then maybe you want to take a stand against him. However, I don't think he needs to move forward. I think his usual effort makes him strictly the horse to beat, and the betting public seems to agree with that.
We kick off the post parade with Stanley House. Gives his 100% effort every time. One thing I can always say is Stanley House is always going to give you a solid try. Notable speech without the pony, as one might expect from a horse from the UK. One Stripe looking good on the track for Graham Motion, who joined us earlier with Johnny V aboard. Huntmaster for Martin Hinkson, 99-1 right now. Wyoming Bill, Catherine Day Phillips has been trying to find a regular rider for this colt and gets Frankie Dettori today. My Boy Prince, multiple Canadian restricted stakes winner for Gary Barber. Mark Cassidy, the trainer. Naptown, the 7. Zemaniana, Victor Carrasco aboard today. The 8 win for the money, the defending champ for Live Oak Plantation. Trainer Mark Cassidy, Patrick Husbands aboard. So we get to the 9. Gas Me Up for X-Line Border Racing. Kevin Attard, the trainer. Flavian Pratt, who won 2 of the 3 graded stakes races so far on the card, and that is your field. I wanted to mention Notable Speech hasn't won, but it's really, he's been running, as you mentioned, Andrew, in some of the best races in the world, and he literally just missed last time. Let's go back to the Jacques Lemoran from Deauville.
Meters here. Dancing Gemini has gone on for Ross Orion. Leads by a length. Chased hard by Diego Velasquez in second place. Docklands closing late with Notable Speech as they run up towards the finish. Diego Velasquez with Notable Speech absolutely flying under the stand side. It got very tight in the Jacques Lemoran. What a finish to the Group 1 highlights. Notable Speech and Diego Velasquez. Nothing between them. Dancing Gemini was next in the order, followed by Docklands.
If you had him that day, my sympathies.
I don't think I've ever seen a horse move as fast in slow motion as that horse was moving on that view from the inside. That was incredible.
Yeah. Nowhere. Wait, did he win?
Right.
And I wish, and it looked like I cut that very awkwardly. That was the end of tape. That was all I had. So I didn't have any more of that slow-mo replay because I would have loved to see like 2 more jumps of it. Because, I mean, that was an absolute athlete for Godolphin running through the lane there for Charlie Appleby. Was running a straight mile there. Only time ran left-handed was last year in the Breeders' Cup Mile. Finished 3rd, beaten 3 1/4. Just tried to find space, tried to find the room, finally got out where it needed to be, and just it was too little too late. Hopefully, you know, if you're betting this horse at 1-2, it's always tough to bet a deep closer 1-2, but you're hoping for the trip, and you're hoping for kind of a clear delineation of lead. You know, we went back and forth in it. Do we think My Boy Prince comes out of the gates here and takes the lead in this one?
I think so. I think you get My Boy Prince forward, a little bit of Huntmaster also forward with him. Excuse me. I could see that. Ooh, sorry.
Hydration interlude for Chase right there.
My apologies for the frog in the throat there. Yeah, I think that My Boy Prince is your likely speed with the 4 Huntmaster likely sitting that stalking trip. I do want to say I thought Wyoming Bill looked really good on track in the post parade.
Yeah, I think My Boy Prince probably. Oh, sorry, JD. Go ahead.
I was going to say Wyoming Bill has definitely been kind of the wise guy horse this week. And there's been a lot of interviews with Catherine Day Phillips where she thinks this horse has a big chance. But go ahead about My Boy Prince and the pace, Andrew. Sorry for that.
Yeah, I think My Boy Prince is going to be the likely leader after a half mile. I think you're going to wind up seeing Huntmaster go early. And I think Stanley House has to at least try to go early, even though I think his speed is more 1.125 mile speed as opposed to 1 mile speed. If you've got a horse that went wire to wire last time out that draws the rail and you don't go, that's a mistake. So I do think you're going to wind up getting a pace, and I do think Wyoming Bill's going to come running. And look, you're getting Frankie Dettori in a big spot at 23-1. He's won a lot of races hopping on horses that seem to just sort of be there to fill out the field, and then he winds up riding circles around a whole bunch of people. He may still be on the older side, but he's still got his fastball. I wouldn't be surprised if Wyoming Bill winds up running a big one in here. I'm just not sure that big one is going to be good enough to get the money. But if you're asking me which one I prefer, Wyoming Bill at 23-1 or Gas Me Up at 6-1, Gas Me Up seems overbet in here.
I've got a fresh, just piping hot out of the oven stat for you guys. And this is up to the moment. So Charlie Appleby, we've talked about the dominance at Woodbine. From 2021 to 2023, Charlie Appleby went 7 for 9. So won 7 races with 7 starters, only lost 2. Since then, in 2024 and 2025, as of this moment, Charlie Appleby 0 for 7.
Let's try to beat him then.
2-5.
How are we going to do it?
All right, Chase, who's your top pick here?
I'm going to go with Wyoming Bill. Yeah, going to ahead just sprinkle on the win bet there, but then also I'm going to play the exact 5-6 with 2-5-6 because I do think I have a good shot with those overlays, Wyoming Bill and my boy Prince. And I think if you beat Notable Speech, you're not going to beat that horse much further past second place. So 5-6 with 2-5-6, and let's catch the double with 5 or 6 here.
Andrew?
Chase, good luck, and I think you're golden because I'm landing completely differently. I think Notable Speech is going to be pretty difficult to beat. I will, however, have a small reverse exacta as well with Win for the Money on top. If anyone beats that one, I think it's him.
Yep, I'm putting big units on 2-8, and I'm putting smaller units on 8-2.
Exactly the same here. We're agreeing too much, JD. This isn't our usual shtick.
That's good for Chase.
Very good for Chase. Good luck, buddy.
I appreciate it, guys. Really appreciate that one.
We're wishing Chase the best of luck, and we hope you get your bets home as well in this one. A guy who we were just talking a scant 10 minutes ago to, Robert Geller, will have the rest of the load and the call of the Grade 1. Well, now, the Grade 1 Rogers Woodbine Mile. Lock it.
They're off. And a little bit slow, Notable Speech. A very nice beginning for My Boy Prince and Huntmaster near the inside. They go out in front. And from the extreme outside, Gas Me Up, send forward with Wyoming Bill. Brim up the inside for Stanley House. And coming through is in the center, One Stripe, who fights the right a little bit. A Notable Speech is finding a seam up the inside as they take the turn. Stanley House, a little rank into the turn where My Boy Prince has the lead. In the early stages, Win for the Money's caught wide. And at the tail end of affairs is Naptown. Racing with a nice cushion up front. My Boy Prince, 2 lengths to Gas Me Up. Stanley House third, and fourth Wyoming Bill. And handy now, Notable Speech is over on the inside, only about 4 lengths and maybe less now off the leader, is coming up nicely. Huntmaster 3 wide, and the trio at the back. In the center, One Stripe. Over on the inside is Naptown, and the outer Win for the Money. My Boy Prince continues to roll. Out in front, a length and a half. Gas Me Up, Stanley House. Wyoming Bill, Notable Speech. Ready to go, waiting for the run. Huntmaster the outside. Behind them, in the center, One Stripe. And on the inside goes Naptown from Win for the Money as Notable Speech gets into the clear. The leader, My Boy Prince, in the Woodbine Mile. By a length to Gas Me Up, Wyoming Bill. On the inside, Stanley House. Notable Speech still 4 off. And My Boy Prince and Gas Me Up the top 2. And My Boy Prince is not stopping. Now Notable Speech tearing home. And now we see just how magnificent the closing kick of Notable Speech truly is. And action speaks louder than words. Notable Speech wins the Rogers Woodbine Mile. 2 lengths to My Boy Prince, Gas Me Up. And Naptown ran fourth in One Stripe in the time of 1:35.33.
Chase, that horse ran big for you.
Yeah, that horse ran. I got no complaints with the effort out of My Boy Prince. That and Notable Speech is much better today.
There were 9 horses. 7 of them had funky trips. The 2 that didn't ran 1-2. And ultimately, if you backed My Boy Prince, you got the exact trip that you wanted. on the lead without much in the way of opposition, going 23, 47 and 1. I mean, that's exactly what you would have drawn up, I think. Just too much notable speech in this particular spot. I was wondering why nobody went with him. I mean, you saw the 4 Huntmaster try for a couple of strides, but it sort of looked like S1 Flores knew, okay, I'm not as fast as my boy Prince. I'm not going to gas my horse up. But Win for the Money in particular got hung way, way, way wide in there. And how about Naptown running 4th at 98 to 1?
And I mean, what makes it even more impressive for me for notable speech, and we just saw it a little bit at the start of the replay, we saw the head on, and at the start, Stanley House and One Stripe made a notable speech sandwich, and notable speech was going to be in the back, but got bumped and kind of jostled in the back, and I think we were all eyeing the early move there from Gas Me Up, not a horse we normally see near the front, but I think Flabian saw what was happening and just like, I'm going to get my horse in a safe place to run and get the horse the best chance to hit the board, and that's exactly what he did. So 2-6-9-7. It's going to be, even with the 2 to 5 shot up, it's going to be a nice super, but I don't think anything else is going to pay extremely well here with the 2 to 5 favorite with William Buick aboard. Notable speech, punching the ticket to the very illustrious FanDuel Mile on Breeders' Cup Saturday.
I am going to check to see what the all-turf pick 3 was about to pay, because I think anybody that was good enough to hit that may very well be in line for a nice score.
Yep, I'll have that for you in a second. $962.25 for $5.
That's a good score, ending with a 2 to 5 favorite. That's a fun sequence there. Shout out to the people at Woodbine for that. That was a $5 all-turf pick 3, encompassing the 3 grade 1 races. And if you spread in legs 1 and 2, singling to notable speech, you got paid.
Absolutely. Yep, and I went 2 for 3, so yay, go me.
I ran second place.
Chase, I would love to see what a consolation chain looks like, and can you point me to one so I can buy it for myself?
Yes, you will need to go to either Shein or Temu for that one. And I'll tell you, I have experience with things not being able to get through customs very fast as of late. I had a sweet custom wolf pendant coming, and it got hung up in customs, and I lost it.
That probably left you howling, didn't it?
Oh man, you're gonna do this to me right now, today. I was having a good day until that happened, Andrew.
I've been streaming for 2 hours and I've held a lot back.
Impressive.
Notable speech into the Johnny Walker winner's circle at Woodbine, and I think you had mentioned it before the race, Andrew. I don't see anybody being favored over notable speech in the FanDuel Mile. I just don't see it.
I mean, maybe Diego Velasquez, if plans to bring him in come to fruition. Once again, Europe appears to have a very, very strong hand in a race that they have dominated over the years. But remember, last year, More Than Looks was the one spring in the upset.
I just think the tight course of Del Mar, very similar to the tight course at Notable Speech. I would still probably take Notable Speech over Diego. Diego is a very talented horse, but Notable Speech, I think getting the second time around a pretty sharp left-handed 2-turn mile configuration, I think that's big, and that goes a long way here as we wait for the official numbers. While we do, Chase, you do a lot. I want to give you an opportunity to plug every show that you do, and I realize that might take a while, so I figure you might as well start now.
Actually, the roster's been trimmed down a little bit. My main focus, of course, is the Notorious OTB, where I have just the best co-host in the biz, Barry Spears. We're on 5 days a week in the AM. If you're a big 5-day-a-week player, we've got all sorts of tracks covered. So check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, the Notorious OTB. And outside of that, just our college football tailgate I do in the mornings with XFL Jim and my buddy Uncle Rico. Check those out because we go on at 8:30 and have all sorts of college football plays for the entire day.
Awesome, Chase. Andrew, what are you up to in the broadcasting world these days?
Up to a whole bunch of stuff. Just started a Substack called The Smart Money. If you go searching for that, feel free to subscribe. Right now, subscriptions are free. That may very well change come October. Still trying to get the cadence down, but I'm keeping my hand in the business in a whole bunch of different ways. Follow me on Twitter/X at Andrew Champagne for all the information there. Fingers, toes, and eyes crossed. I'll have something pretty exciting coming up within the next week or two, so stay tuned for that. You can also follow my sports analysis over on wizardsportspicks.com. Got to play for a game later today that I'm hoping defenses show up for.
Similar to how defensive I've had to operate this broadcast behind you two.
JD, I've been good. I've been really good because there have been a lot of things that have changed in the 3 years since we've been able to do a stream. I got engaged. I got married. I had Lord Miles at 59-1 in the 2023 Wood Memorial. Yes, everybody drink. But no, this has been an absolute blast. Those that remember the Champagne and JD podcast from several years ago, hopefully you all stuck around. If you tuned in for any length of time, know that I greatly appreciate it. It is always a blast being able to do stuff like this with you, JD, with you, Chase, with everybody else that was able to stop in. Special thanks to our friend Sherry. Special thanks to Graham Motion, Robert Geller as well, especially given everything that we had to go through to get him on. Just wonderful, wonderful stuff all the way around. Fun day of racing at Woodbine, and hopefully we were able to make the experience a little bit better for you.
Big hand to JD as well.
And thanks to Chase, Corsia Veloce. Hopefully you all cashed. All right, we're waiting on final results here, and I want to get you guys paid before we go home. But it was a big win for Notable Speech, and there's still 3 races to go on the card. One other thing that I'll mention is race 12. We do have a carryover and a force out of a carryover amount in the Super High 5. That's a race that had 2 defections, so it's a field of 11. But again, it's a 50-cent, or excuse me, a 20-cent Super High 5. So get in on that. And there's a lot of money carrying over. I think close to $170,000 carrying over into that pool. So that'll be a lot of fun as we get to race number 12. Notable Speech paid $280, $220, $210. My Boy Prince $483.30. Gas Me Up $340. The 26 dollar exacta paid $575. 20-cent trifecta $269 paid $532. The 1-2 daily double $46.55. The 20-cent pick 3 paid $10.57. And as we mentioned, that Turf Champions pick 3, if you had one with 2, you had $962.25. For Chase Sessions, Andrew Champagne, JD Fox signing off here on ABR. Enjoy the rest of your day. And again, Woodbine has 3 more races to come, and we're not staying on air for it.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than America'sBestRacing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. America'sBestRacing.net is a sport for you.